This is episode 13 of the Bluegrass Blues podcast. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Amy.
Okay, we're in the middle of a government shutdown. It doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon, and there are many reasons that this is happening. I was looking through the BBC's announcement on this, or a story they're doing on this, and they say that the Republicans are controlling both chambers of Congress, and they want to see an extension of expiring tax. The Democrats want to see the extension of expiring tax credits, and it's trying to reverse Trump's cuts to Medicaid and the government health care program. Democrats are opposing spending cuts to government health agencies. And one of the big problems is that Republicans are saying that the reason that they want to cut these Medicaid funding is because they claim that immigrants are the ones who are taking advantage of it.
Illegals.
Yeah, illegals.
Illegal aliens.
But it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And the Republicans know this. The Democrats keep pointing it out, but then we have units like Fox News that continue to say this. And you know, the dangers of this shutdown are that government workers aren't getting paid, which means government workers are either furloughed while this is going on, or they are forced to work without pay. And there are certain jobs that you have to have constantly going on, like air traffic control, which is a big deal. I'm going to be flying in a week or so. And I'm not too thrilled about going in the air when we don't know who's in the air towers, and
or who's not in the air towers.
right, that's even more important.
There's about 23,000 federal civilian workers in Kentucky right now not getting paid.
Right.
It's terrible for the economy. People can't spend money.
Oh, right, people can't spend money, which means businesses are suffering because of it. And the other thing about these shutdowns is that they don't pay people, but Congress still gets its pay.
Oh, of course, and their health insurance.
Yeah, so if they were to suffer like the rest of us do, then they would look at this differently. And you pointed out that Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is like the
batshit crazy.
The epitome of craziness on the right, she's leaning toward going with the Democrats on this because the results of this shutdown are going to affect her children.
Right. She has 2 adult children whose premiums would go up, and now she basically says, I'm going to go with the Democrats on this. And by the way, I wasn't in office when Obamacare was approved, so like she doesn't see it as flip-flopping because she never was there at the beginning.
It's plausible deniability.
Yeah.
But even with that, it's always good to get a vote, no matter where it comes from. And so this is the last shutdown, if I remember correctly, the longest shutdown in U.S. history. I'm going to look this up quickly. Was 35 days. And can you guess who was president when that happened? Trump was president. Mm-hmm. And there were 3 shutdowns during his first administration. So, this is like, if Trump's in office, the government's going to close because the Republicans keep asking for really insane stuff that really hurts people. And we're going into this new phase where they want to not only hurt people, they want to kill people by taking away their health care.
Well, but not only that, I look at Fox News almost every day. I know, call me a masochist, but if you look at, for example, if you look at the cover, the homepage of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, right? The radical left in Congress shut down the government.
That's
the
what Fox
radical left in Congress shut down the government. This is on a federal agency's website, which is supposed to be nonpartisan, and that's what Fox News reports. So, Jesse, my question is, okay, so you've got this shutdown, and maybe some people are getting wind that like their healthcare premiums are going to go up, or that they're going to not be able to afford healthcare at all. What did we see? The average Kentuckian will probably see about a $1,200 increase in
Right.
their premiums
A year, yeah.
on Connect. And let's talk
Right.
a little bit about Connect,
Right.
which is Obamacare. But you wouldn't know that if you were reading mainstream newspapers like the Courier-Journal or Lexington Herald-Leader, or even the mainstream news media at night.
Yeah, because we did have a story. There was a story last week when there was a demonstration outside the federal building in Louisville on the corner of 6th and Broadway.
Right.
And in the course of it, people were protesting the fact that the reason for the shutdown is because Republicans want to take away health care from Americans. And the story that the Courier-Journal wrote was, I think, really badly done, because it said people were out protesting because they didn't want cuts to the Affordable Care Act, which is known as Obamacare. But the Courier never put the word connect in the story, because I don't know why they didn't, but that's what people in Kentucky know in terms of health care.
Right.
It's connect. And it was one of the scams that Mitch McConnell ran in one of his elections, where he said that he was going to get rid of Obamacare, but he was going to save Connect.
Right.
And, he won the election, people fell for it, but we can't, or our media cannot keep doing this, where they just refuse to include basic information on certain things that affect the people in our state.
Yeah, and as someone who has been on the exchange, you go to connect.gov, connect.gov, so you would never know that it was the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare to getting your health insurance on the exchange.
And the reason they did that is because let's face it, there
Yeah.
was racism in the term Obamacare,
Right.
which isn't what Obama called it. He called it the Affordable Care Act, but Republicans in Congress decided to call it Obamacare because that was their racist dog whistle. They
Right.
knew that was going to turn on their supporters and make them think, oh no, here the evil Kenyan is going to take away our health care. And that was the whole era of kill grandmother, you kill your grandma.
Right. By the way, it's Connect, it's KYNECT.KY.gov. And for all of you who are going to be needing the qualified health plans or Medicaid or through Connect, the open enrollment period starts November 1st and lasts through January 15th. So connect.ky.gov.
And it's crucial that people know how to do this. And the other side of this too is what's going to happen with this the shutdown. This seems to be a thing that, for everyone's sake, the Democrats can't lose this. We have to preserve this. The Democrats have to win on this because, we also have to get Republican votes. And there are lots of counties in this state that are, most of the counties in the state are represented by Republicans.
Right.
And I don't know, and these are the poorer counties, and these are the people who didn't have health care before Obamacare.
Right. We have 120 counties in Kentucky. One has a Democratic congressman, Jefferson. So 119 counties
Right. Yeah.
have Republican
Right.
representation.
And the Democrat is going to vote for giving people health care, which I sort of like, I'm going off on a tangent here, but one of the things about the healthcare system in the United States is that it really is insufficient compared to the healthcare systems in other countries. Now, we just bought some land out in the country, and we bought it from a former British citizen. Well, actually, he's still a UK citizen, and had been in the United States for about 3 decades. But he's in his 80s now, and he decided that he had to go back to the UK, not out of any great love for it, but because the healthcare system was better in the UK than it is here.
My former husband's parents are from South Korea, and they lived in Orange County, which has like 1 million Koreans. and they had to move back in their 80s to South Korea because they weren't going to have sufficient health care here.
And I have experience with the healthcare system in other countries because I lived in Belgium for 6 years. And one year we had some visitors coming from the States, a relative of my wife. And she developed a severe back pain while she was visiting us in Brussels. And so I took her to the emergency room and they treated her, and we never got a bill. She offered to give them like whatever they needed to pay for it, but we were guests in their country and we didn't have to pay a bill for like being treated for this major back pain. So for us in this country to like actually complain about the issue of giving health care to illegal aliens, I hate using that term.
Right, well, that's what they
but,
use.
But the illegal aliens who actually are working in this country and paying taxes and not getting any benefits from the tax system, they deserve health care. But the Republicans don't want to give it to them, and they've managed to like manipulate racist ideas in this country where we shouldn't give money to foreigners. That is just ridiculous. That contradicts what other countries do. Other countries treat Americans with respect in terms of the healthcare system. We don't treat anybody with any respect, and we are making that sort of like a rallying cry that we don't want to treat you.
Well, and frankly, I think it's really difficult for people to know the truth, because on Fox News today, a big story says, White House slams Schumer's disgusting statement on shutdown as political standoff continues. And basically the quote they put right under the headline is, Americans struggling is not good, and the Democrats must stop inflicting this pain on them. This is from the White House deputy spokesperson, Abigail Jackson, right? So again, if you're on Fox News, it's the Democrats' fault that you may be losing your health insurance, or that your premiums may go up if you're on the exchange.
But the other part of this too is that if you look at any of the messaging coming out of the White House is full of former Fox News employees. You know, the Secretary of Defense, I refuse to call it the Secretary of War, he's a former Fox News person. And, you know, the idea that some, like, I don't know, was he a major in the National Guard can, like, yell at generals in this country for being fat, and then bring on this, like, overly corpulent president who, like, waddles wherever he goes. This is like Fox News has taken over the government, and Fox News is also the big propaganda outlet in this country.
Right.
And Fox News, you keep having to reminding people about this. Fox News is run by an immigrant. Rupert Murdoch is not an American citizen, or he is filed to become an American citizen, but Rupert Murdoch was not born and raised in the USA. Rupert Murdoch was born and raised in Australia.
White man.
Right. And not only that, he didn't come to the USA directly. He went to Britain, where he managed to screw up their news media. And the reason he took American citizenship wasn't because he actually cared about being in America. He wanted American citizenship because foreigners couldn't control American networks.
Right.
So,
and Jesse, I want to read something else from this terrible article, and then I want to ask you, how do Democrats win the framing? The Democrats should be winning the framing on this shutdown right now. So let me share one more statement that Levitt wrote, the White House press secretary, okay? While federal workers stress over missed paychecks, military families turn to food pantries, and airports around the country face delays, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are bragging that every day gets better for them. That's what Levitt wrote on X. What a disgusting and revealing statement. Democrats are gleeful about inflicting pain on the American people.
well, first of all, Levitt's a liar. You know, that's the essence of being a success in the Trump administration. If you lie, and you lie convincingly, you're always going to be at an advantage. The other problem is look at what the major media outlets are and look who owns them, and it's all billionaires. The Times is run by a billionaire family. Fox News is run by a billionaire whose net worth is something like $20 billion. CBS was just bought by a billionaire, Larry Ellison, and his son. Larry Ellison is the second richest person in the world. Twitter,
Bezos.
It's Elon Musk, the richest person in the world, who has a fortune that's like what, $450 billion. And then you go to Bezos at the Washington Post, who has a $200 billion fortune. You go to Facebook, Instagram, that's Mark Zuckerberg, that's another multi-billionaire. So if all the media outlets are owned by billionaires, what interest do they have in actually talking to real people?
Right.
They don't care, and we have, what's the word, idealized these billionaires who, they could care less what happens to anyone because they're not affected by any of this. If the air traffic isn't working, they have their ways of getting around. They have their own planes and they have their own guidance systems, I'm sure. If people don't get health care, what do they care? Because they can buy the best doctors, not only in the United States, but anywhere in the world. If they want the best physician and that physician happens to be in Singapore, they're not going to go to the doctor in Louisville. They're going to go to Singapore because they can just hop on their planes and jets and go there and in the meantime destroy the environment by like putting pollution in the air. So we have this issue with media coverage in general, and media is run by very rich people. And what I've seen, unfortunately, in recent times is that the media is also getting less diverse than it was in the past. When I was working, we weren't only looking for diversity in terms of race, we were looking for diversity in terms of gender, we were looking for diversity in terms of age. I would hire older workers as well as younger workers because they could learn from each other. And we were hiring people based on their economic background. So, there's all kinds, that's what DEI is. It's not something that's specifically just for black people or people of color. As I've said before, the biggest beneficiaries of DEI were white women.
Right.
So
I will say, I do want to say about media that I think that's why it's so important for us to be supporting our public media stations, and thank you to everybody who supports Louisville Public Media and PBS here in Kentucky. Also, Jesse and I both made donations to the Kentucky Lantern. If you don't know them, a lot of the news that we get is from the Kentucky Lantern, and they're nonpartisan, and their reporting is really good. And
I
check them out.
Right. So there are media outlets. But
they're a nonprofit.
If you're looking for something from corporate media,
right,
you're not going to find it. And the other part of this argument is that there is no such thing as a liberal media. And that's one of the farces that Fox News has pawned off on a lot of American viewers. Everyone thinks that there's like this liberal cabal that runs the media, and that's not true. The media is run by rich conservatives. Anyway, back to the shutdown. We also are dealing with things like, it's not only the air traffic, and it's not only the effects on healthcare, but it's also things like national parks.
Right.
You can't get into a national park because that is a government function.
Right.
And there's something going on with the Kentucky Caverns.
Well, it's Mammoth Cave. So Mammoth Cave, obviously is not operational because it's a national park. So the counties around there have formed an alliance, and they can redirect people who want cave tours to go to like private caves and private tour operators and private lodgings and things like that. But again, think of all the people around the country, that this is a gorgeous time of year. I was just in Michigan at Sleeping Bear Dunes National Park, which is absolutely gorgeous. And, the leaves are turning and apples are being picked and cider is being pressed. And I went to get my park pass because I'm 62 now, and now I can get a park pass for the rest of my life and go to all the parks. And of course the office was closed. And actually my friend whom I was staying with, her son works for the national park there, and he is not allowed to come in and work even without pay. He's actually forbidden to come into work right now. So all these people are furloughed all over the country. People have made vacation plans that are now dashed, and it's because of this shutdown. And again, the blame really, if you want health care, you should be speaking up right now to have them end this shutdown.
Right, and one of the things in terms of what the economic impact of the shutdown is going to be, and I'm going to quote from a BBC article here, it's estimated that the 2018-2019 shutdown, which happened during Trump's first term, reduced economic output by about $11 billion, including $3 billion was never regained. But these shutdowns they only seem to happen in the United States. I can't think of
with Republican presidents.
It happens with Democratic and Republican presidents. But if you look at the statistic, and if you look at the what people are feeling, everybody blames shutdowns on Republicans. All the shutdowns of the past, if you look at who's responsible for them, the blame has always gone to the Republican Party because that's where the blame rests. When the government shut down during Trump's first administration, it wasn't because of health care and it wasn't because of DEI. It was because of the border wall. And they shut the government down for about 30 days or for about a month because people didn't want to waste money on a border wall. But again, this is what Republicans do. They create these environments in which people are pitted against other people because they're unable to lead by unifying the government. They lead by separating people. So we don't know how long this shutdown is going to last. We just know that it's happening now and it's affecting everybody. And we're not going to recover from this. Except, just one more point I want to make in terms of the shutdown. It hasn't affected Wall Street.
Yeah.
If you look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average or you look at the stock market, it's at record levels, which should tell you what this means in terms of wealth. That
Right.
The rich are getting richer. The billionaires who have these multi-billion-dollar fortunes, day to day, their fortunes increase by billions of dollars. And that's I keep making these references to if certain billionaires gave away 99% of their wealth, they would still have more than $1 billion. And can you imagine what that 99% of wealth would do for the rest of the country? How much more we can improve the quality of our schools, improve the quality of our neighborhoods, make things better in terms of our healthcare system. But instead, Republicans are cutting things from budgets, and they're cutting things in terms of medical care because they want to give tax cuts to billionaires, as if billionaires don't have enough already. So,
and I just want to say that in terms of the economic situation and the fact that the stock market just keeps going up, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is shut down as part of the shutdown, right? And so all their website updates have ceased. All the key economic reports are delayed, like monthly jobs reports, right? Jobless claims, the consumer price index, all of it has been suspended. So data collection is impacted. And then, so now economists are relying on alternative data, alternative private sector data sources, right? So all those billionaires now are doing the work. that the federal government, used to do. I don't know, like, how do you know what to believe anymore?
It's really, really difficult to figure it out because there are special interests. And when you talk about special interests, like the Republicans will say it's leftist or whatever, but the special interest in Congress is the billionaire.
Right.
That's the billionaire interest.
Right.
They can buy Supreme Court justices. And speaking of justices, or speaking of the justice system, we have this effort to put more people in jail or to put people in concentration camps, as I've been calling it. And I was looking at the Louisville Public Media recently, and they have a story about the number of detainees in Kentucky County jails. The number has increased by almost 700% between January and August of this year. And there's a detention center in Boone County that was the full-time ICE center in the state, and it was holding about 120 detainees. But in August, 9 county jails were contracted with ICE to hold more detainees. That's about 900 people being held in what are essentially concentration camps. And these are, this is like imprisonment for profit.
Absolutely.
This is just
More billionaires being spawned every day.
Right.
Or at least the same billionaires just getting richer.
It just seems like a degradation of everything we stand for in terms of, being of justice. Where, what was it? Brett Kavanaugh made it legal again to, to profile people.
Right.
Just by
what they look like.
Yeah, that's he decided. Okay, if you look like you're not from this country, you can be stopped by ICE. And so now ICE is in places like Chicago, and they're in Portland, and they're detaining people with no due process. So I guess I should get off this thread because there are other things happening, like there's a lot of stuff going on in Kentucky politics now. I saw recently that Amy McGrath is going to run again for Senate. She's probably the biggest Democratic name now in consideration, and I have mixed feelings about it because she got trashed by McConnell in her election, and she lost to Andy Barr when she was running for Congress. So
and where's she been?
I don't know.
I mean, like Heather French Henry, that's a name that I think people could get behind. She's someone that people like. She's out in the public. She does good things, public service, etc. But like, where's McGrath been? Nowhere that I know of.
I don't know.
Democratic politics in Kentucky they just really kind of suck, Jesse. I don't know who constantly is getting paid to be the consultant, to give the advice to so many of the candidates, because this just seems...
It seems like we're in a lost cause with the Democrats in this state, that I have no idea why they keep losing, because this used to be a Democratic state. I guess, 20, 50 years ago, Democrats were Republican light.
Right.
And Democrats are still Republican light in many cases, but the issue is that Republicans have gone from Republican to fascist.
Yeah,
in some cases.
and what we've been talking about with the media, I think, has a big part.
And Fox News. We go
Right.
back to Fox News again, where they have completely corrupted the system,
Right.
and now they run the government. So
McGrath, and then we also saw that Andy Bashir's been traveling around the country. He was up east in New Hampshire, is that right?
yeah, and any time a politician goes to New Hampshire years before the next presidential election, that's a sign that that person is running for president.
Right.
And the New Hampshire primary might not mean as much as it used to mean in the past, but it's still symbolically something that the media covers, because they see who's going to certain states. If Andy goes from New Hampshire to Iowa,
he's
Yeah.
going to Nebraska with Joe Biden.
Close to it.
Very close.
So, it's these, you're making, how do I say this? You're doing the politics greatest hits in terms of visiting certain places that you have to visit in order to be considered a legitimate candidate for the future. So that's where we are now.
Right. I do want to lift up Morgan McGarvey. I know that he could do better and he could get across the state more. But I do want to commend him, and we should all be calling his office and thanking him for co-sponsoring HR 3045. It's called West Bank Violence Prevention Act of 2025. It's really the Block the Bombs bill, so that the U.S. doesn't send bombs to Israel with the express purpose of, committing a genocide in Palestine. I mean, the good news is now we're seeing that possibly there's a ceasefire brokered by Trump. And, you see these things and then you're like, okay, what's the next day going to bring? But for now, it looks like maybe we have a ceasefire in the works. And I really do think that the pressure that has been brought to the Americans in charge about what's happening in Gaza has been real, both from Palestinians and as well from Jews in Israel and all around the world, as well as other people of conscience like Greta Thunberg, who couldn't get over there with her aid. But anyway, hopefully the ceasefire will hold. And thank you, Morgan, for co-sponsoring the Block the Bombs Act. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that is good. And just one thing you said, the ceasefire brokered by Trump, I don't think he brokered it.
No.
He's going to take credit
Yeah.
for everything that happens. And he's so desperate to get the Nobel Peace Prize, which I think should be announced this week. They've been announcing the prize recently. And he's not going to get it. If he does, then it's a farce.
I
But-
think they officially removed him, actually, from...
As a candidate?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because, but he's, how many things has he said? How many peace things has he said he's brokered? Like,
Right.
there's something between...
He's the best president ever. in the history of
he
man.
made up something like between Indonesia and Azerbaijan. It's
Right.
like, they aren't even near each other. And
We
I'm
haven't
sure I
sent
didn't get this
Epstein
right.
files yet.
Oh, right, that's right.
Epstein files.
Right, and that's another thing that we have to put all of everything we've said in context, because the shutdown is a diversion. The shutdown is a way to get the focus away from the Epstein files. And everything that's happening, whatever Republicans do, it's a diversion from the Epstein files. And, it's Mike Johnson is not naming or not in, what's the word?
Right.
Installing
Right.
a Democratic representative from Arizona who's just waiting to be sworn in, but
Right.
Mike Johnson won't do it because she's a vote to release the Epstein files.
Right.
And every diversion that you see coming out of the White House, or every complaint you see about every time they send troops into another city, every time they make arrests, every time they announce that the Democrats are shutting down the government, which is not the case, they've shut down the government, everything they say is a diversion from the Epstein files.
Right.
And it's going to keep being this way, and we have to keep, every Fox News announcement is another diversion from the Epstein files.
Right.
So,
And so we need to keep up the pressure. I really see cracks now. And if you read Reich, if you read Krugman, if you read, a lot of these pundits that have been really critical of Trump and fascism, they're seeing cracks now. Can I start to talk about some good... Oh, you wanted to talk about the St. James Art Show.
well, I was going to talk about arts in general, and we had the St. James Art Show last weekend. That's a massive art fair, essentially.
It's a show. Don't say fair.
Okay, yeah, right.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, I
yeah.
got so
We get yelled at for that.
girl-splained.
Yeah, okay. The
Oy.
art show
Oy.
has had about 600 exhibitors. It had a couple of 100,000 people visit, and it took up like at least 4 square blocks of old Louisville. And it happens outside of my house. I help sometimes with getting artists set up. I didn't help as much this year because I had visitors from out of town and I had grandchildren that I was occupied with. But it just it has gotten bigger and bigger ever since we moved here. We've been here for almost 18 years
No,
now.
13 or 15 maybe.
15 years?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not 18.
Okay. But the art show will be 70 years old next year, and it it's just expanded. One of the things that I've noticed about it is that the it's stretching. It seems like the artists are more condensed. They're taking up less space, but there are more artists than there were in the past. Um, they sell everything, and the price ranges like you can get something very cheap or you can get something very expensive. You can get huge sculptures. You can get these matchbook sized pieces of art. Everything is here. I bought custom guitar picks in some of these art shows. They have these like custom little stereos that you can put your iPhone in and it'll play music.
Amplify it,
Yeah,
yeah.
amplify it.
Jesse, it's consistently ranked, well, it received the #2 spot in the country for Best Fine Art and Design Show in America by Sunshine Artist Magazine in 2025. And also, that ranking is largely based too on artist sales. So
Right.
the artists, when they have profitable art shows, they rank them, and we're at the top of the top. And they said hundreds of thousands of visitors annually come to Old Louisville.
Right,
way bigger,
and they
beautiful
were
house.
there because they've closed off. It's really impossible to drive around. You have to park blocks away from the area of the main art show because the streets are all closed off. The day before the art show, I was awakened because there was a police siren and they were saying something over a megaphone. And it turned out that they were telling people to move their cars because they had to clear the area for the art show's setup. And it's not only art, there's entertainment because in Central Park they had live performances. There were Shakespeare performances, there were music performances, there was a dance group out there. There was a lion dance by some Asian performers. It just went on and on. Lots of picnic tables, and there was just tons of food and booze.
Right.
And one of the disappointments for me was that the food was very expensive.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you had to pay like $25 for a meal and a drink. And I'd rather be in a sit-down restaurant doing that. But when
We-
you're on the go, it's convenient, but it's just mass-produced food. And the unfortunate thing is, I wanted to buy the food as well.
Right.
So
My neighborhood, the Auerbacher Court neighborhood, the neighbors get together and we take bourbon bottles and cool, liquor bottles, and we saw them off. I think I've said this in another podcast. And we sand them as neighbors, and then we wick them, and then we pour beautifully scented wax in them, and we sold hundreds of these candles at our booth. Our booth is always on 4th Street between Hill and Magnolia, and we make about $6,000 a year selling candles that the neighbors in the neighborhood make, and that basically pays for tree maintenance and gate maintenance and decorations for holidays and things like that. So check out our candle booth next year.
was this part of the art show?
Yeah,
or-
it's in the art show. We have a booth on 4th Street.
Oh, I see. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
There's so much going on because I also saw a booth by one of the local high schools.
Uh-huh.
They were selling
Right.
student art for like $25. I saw a booth for the ghost tours of Louisville.
Right.
They have.
I'm going to do one of those with my daughter in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Spooky Victorian, haunted Victorian houses in Old Louisville. I'm so excited.
Well, our house was one of the houses on the tour a few years ago
Oh.
because we have this ghost story in our house as well. But what they did was we have a balcony, and they had some performers on our balcony telling a ghost story as people walked by. So it's, there's so much going on in this neighborhood, and the art show is part of it, the ghost tour is part of it. They're going to have a tour of the various homes. People let people in the homes.
Yeah.
That's part of the tour.
Winter
So-
tour. It's really nice.
There's so much going on. To put it mildly, the art show was a success.
Yes.
We spent a lot of money at this art show.
Yeah.
There's a very significant piece now in our house, a mobile, that it's really nice, but it was really expensive.
And it was, I think it was, the birth story has something to do with Alice Walker's quilts in her
Right.
novels.
Yeah.
And the mobile has like these little squares of glass, and it looks like a quilt. It's really pretty.
Yeah, it's.
Good job.
Yeah, that's
Your
my
wife.
wife. Yes.
Good job, Terry. We
she's
love
the,
you.
She's the artist. here.
Yes.
And there's one other art story that's I wanted to make mention of, and that's the Speed Museum.
Right.
I was at the Speed Museum last week, and they made the announcement that they were opening up this new art garden. It was it's called the Art Park, and it's a 3-acre landscape that surrounds the museum. It's got like new trees. They did major landscaping. They put sculptures out there, and they had the announcement it was a pretty big announcement when they, I guess it was a dedication ceremony, and the First Lady of Kentucky, Brittany Brashear, spoke, and the Mayor of Louisville, Craig Greenberg, also spoke. So it's really elaborate thing that people came to, and the art park is free. You can it's outside the museum, so you can just walk by the campus and just look at it whenever you want to. But I'm sure they spent a lot of money putting it together, but a couple of days later they made another announcement involving the arts, and that was that they were going to lay off people because the budget, they couldn't make the budget. And so 9 jobs are being cut from the Speed Museum. People got a severance agreement. The museum grew quickly during the COVID era, but the employees, they increased by probably 2/3. But the program they cut was an education program. So it's this sort of mixed feeling about this, that there was this great joy about this new art park, but now they don't have people to teach you about the art. So I don't know if that's it's just, we're in this very bizarre time where whatever we have good happening, something bad happens that sort of takes away the thunder of the excitement. So, like I said, we had an art fair,
Art show.
whatever. At the art show, we have this dedication of a new art park, but then we have to cut the arts because of budgetary concerns, which is also happening on the national level, where the Trump administration is cutting funding for the arts. They're trying to change the atmosphere of what the museums in Washington are going to show. There's a conscious effort to erase history in this weird obsession with DEI, which is, it's just pure racism.
Yeah, America is for white Christians.
Right, and they're like denying all of the history that's taken place, all the advancements that people have made. This latent racism. No, it's not blatant racism. It's blatant racism.
It's blatant.
It just reminds me of when Trump was running and he was talking about how immigrants were going to take black jobs. And, that what struck me about that was I knew what he meant, and I'm sure other people knew what he meant, because what he was saying is that the black jobs were working the fields. And it's just, the guy's a racist. And,
Right.
and
I loved when Michelle Obama, or Barack even said, "What about my black job?"
Right,
It was
right.
so great.
Yeah, and Trump,
Those were
the
the
son of immigrants, took Obama's black job.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
anyway, and there's
Screw 'em. So I want to just be sure that everyone knows about the No Kings rallies happening on October 18th across Kentucky. So October 18th, save that date. I know here in Louisville it's from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Belvedere. And make a fun sign and come on out. You're going to feel really good about it. So far in Kentucky, I've seen that we're having protests in Louisville, Shelbyville, Lexington, Richmond, Berea, Moorhead, Greenup County, Franklin, Hopkinsville, Paducah, and Owensboro. And I'll bet there are more since I looked. And you can go to nokings.org to find a protest near you or start a protest near you. That would be awesome. And then I also wanted to tell you, one of the things that we've been noticing about these protests is that they're not being covered properly by the media that is run by billionaires. They don't want the nation really seeing what it's doing to fight fascism. So there's a project, it's called the We Count Project, WeCountProject.com. And they have a grassroots team that's counting the protests and counting the people at the protests, and they need volunteers for marketing, graphic design, PR and press, outreach writers, and campaign managers. So if you've got, say 3 hours a week or whatever you have, you might want to consider joining the WeCountProject.com so that we can really start making an impact and getting across the numbers that are really showing up at these protests.
well, I'm not going to be able to make the protest here because I'm going to be in Denver. So we're
Hopefully,
probably
if your
yes,
flight
we'll
takes
we'll
off.
get there. We'll
Yeah.
get there. I'm
Thank
going to be
goodness.
positive on
Okay,
that.
I like that.
And we
I
will
love that.
probably take part in the No Kings protests that are going to take place in Denver.
Yeah.
So we are looking forward to that. And just in terms of the No Kings protest, and this goes back to the art show, we have 2 posters up on our house that say No Kings since 1776. And one's like, they're things that you see if you're walking down the street and looking up at our house. And there's also one on our front porch. And during the art show, many people passed by and they gave us thumbs up. And one guy actually came up to me and said, "Thank you for putting that sign up." So, I don't get encouraged much because I don't know what people are really thinking, but that was really encouraging
Yeah.
that people really care about this and that the voices are out there and people want to see these kinds of things. People really believe that this country is better than what Donald Trump and his minions are trying to make it. So if you can get out to the No Kings protest, please do. It's worth doing. I will probably be at the protest in Denver.
Yay.
But anyway, that's I guess my little pitch for that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I think that's our spiel for this.
Do we have anything
Me?
else? No, I think that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure when the next podcast is going to be because
You're going to be
I'm
traveling.
going to be back from probably it will be probably a little after the next 2, probably a day or 2 after 2 weeks from now because we should be back from our trips. We're going to Denver and then we're going to Phoenix. It's to see family in various parts of the country. So until then, thanks everybody for listening. If you have friends, have them listen. We have this at our link on the Bluegrass Blues podcast website, so send the link to people.
And Jesse's writing all kinds of blog posts, like almost one every day. So take a look at our blog post at thebluegrassbluespodcast.com.
Okay, and thanks everybody for listening.
See ya.
Our closing music is by John Chamberlain.